Hi everyone and welcome to Book Club with Bay. I am Bay and this is Bay. Say hi, Bay.
Hi, Bay.
And this is other Bay. Say hi.
Hello.
And this is a
Louder.
Hello.
and today we're talking about Night Star by Alison Noel. The fifth book. What, fifth? Fifth. Yes.
Fifth.
We have one more to go. Fifth book in the Immortal series. There's one more after this. And like, good Lord, this book was a time.
A waste of time.
It sure was a time. Okay.
And it got more offensive than I remember.
Oh my God! Okay. I have things to say. All right, so we just did the book previous to this. That was our most recent thing, so we won't recap all the stuff.
Yeah, it's really
This probably won't be a super long stream, honestly.
this book was not a lot happened. I think I only have max like 5 bullet points per chapter.
Yeah. So ratings. I'm gonna go Rotten Tomatoes.
Just straight up.
I don't like tomatoes, and it feels moldy. So
I am gonna go with like tofurkey, to bacon, tofu, whatever thing, because it promises you something and it's like it's just like real meat, and you taste it and it's not, and it's worse, and the hype about it being like real meat is offensive. And I'm not one to really get too offended in a lot of books.
Okay, yeah. But here's the thing. When we say something is offensive, the three of us are not the type. You good?
They have a father. Oh, okay, he's calling me. Give me a second.
Okay.
Well,
So the three of us have a very we have a high threshold.
Yes.
We have the highest of thresholds for this crap. Like, we read a book called The Haunted Fucking Vagina, okay?
Which was so fun.
Like, so our offensive meter is pretty loosey goosey, okay?
Also right now, TJ and I are reading absolutely horrible.
It's called Ice Planet Barbarians. Ice Planet Barbarians. It's amazing. It's great. I love it. It's one of those romance series where you're like, okay, and then it's one of those romance series where the guys are like alien of some form, and so that means that they act like children, but we still are supposed to want to fuck them, and it feels wrong and pedo-y, but it's fine. So anyway,
like none of them know what kissing is, kind of thing. Yeah.
She was like, that's enough from me. Anyway, it's great. So if you can find series like that, it's wonderful entertainment. 10 out of 10, highly recommend. It's a fantastic literary experience. All right. Anyway, so like I said, our threshold for offense really high. Anyway, this book, like, I have, you know what? She outdid the casts, and you know what? Good for her. That is one thing.
Yeah, like
the cast never did this.
They never went here.
Yeah, like, and I will say as well, I really actually thoroughly enjoy offensive humor. It's one of like a lot of people really do. Like, there is a reason why Russell Peters has had the biggest comedy show in Australia. Like, his whole thing is just offensive racial humor. It's fine. Like, it's all done in good faith, all that stuff. It's jokes. This isn't a joke. And that's the thing. Like, this is where I get offended, where people are trying to be like, all like, see, I'm hip with the issues, but they tackle them so badly. But they're so earnest in the fact that they think they're doing a good.
Let's get into it.
That's what I find offensive.
So you're probably sitting there wondering right now, what the heck happened? What? I would like to know. I would like to be in on the offense, and
we will get there.
And good for you. So I'm just gonna go ahead. Let's just lay it all out.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I don't know if this needs a trigger warning or not.
I don't think so.
Yeah, okay.
Content warning.
Content warning, because we do like to give trigger warnings if we're gonna get into some shit. So content warning, bizarrely offensive racism. Like,
we have a white person.
Like slavery related,
yes,
we
bizarrely offensive bizarrely horrifically offensive depictions of slavery
Yes.
and racism.
Because
and we're talking
our white
American
protagonist-
slavery, not.
And when I say bizarre, I'm talking about the choice made, and it is horrifically offensive. So here's what happens: our protagonist, Everbloom, is white. She's blonde. Okay, she's been a white blonde popular girl this entire time, and whenever we see her past lives, she's always European and stuff like that. Which, like,
She's a redhead
okay.
at one point.
Yeah, like because she herself is of European descent.
And usually books with this sort of thing don't really get into whether or not the white main character would have been a person of color in a past life. They just usually don't even broach the topic.
There is one I can think of, but I think it was handled differently in the Fallen series, because she reincarnates and everything as well. At some point, I'm pretty sure she's an island chieftain's daughter or something. But I can't remember how that's tackled in that book, but I can tell you now it's not. It's definitely better than this.
Yeah, so I don't know how it's typically handled. At least I know that it's typically either mentioned fairly vaguely, or they just don't go there, or whatever. And you know what? I can't tell you as an author.
Point this book.
I cannot tell you as an author how to handle it. Honestly, talk to some people.
Yeah.
Like, if that's what you want to do. This is not really the writing advice part, because this would be a very muddy subject that I just don't know how to handle. But
okay, if I was to write a book, what topic I would touch with a 10-foot pole, because
well, here's
I don't think I could do it correctly.
Let's talk about let's talk about how to not do it. So we're not talking over each other. I'll just because I know we're and then when I'm done, then we'll all just hurt our feelings, okay? So, all right.
Well, Addie first. There we go. You're back.
In this book, we've been finding out about Ever's past lives, and she goes to this the big screening room in Summerland, and she's describing the antebellum South, and I was like, okay, interesting. And the first thing that bothered me about this was that she said the architecture, I think, was called plantation, and I was like, nah, bitch, it's antebellum, you dumb whore. But then, that was
the name of the place you are on is called a plantation.
Yeah, no, I was at first offended about that, and then that everything else paled in comparison to my annoyance over the architecture club. Okay, so
yeah, can I just interrupt
yes,
I just want to interrupt for 1 second, because ordinarily with your typical high school, previously shallow but then life changed, now I'm deep MC, right? You can at least give them credit for being a dum-dum. It's like maybe the character's just stupid and didn't know. And it's not necessarily the author's fault, it's the character's fault. And that's fine. I can live with that. But Ever touches a book and knows it. All she needs to do to know literally the history of everything is to go to a library and just brush every book with her fingertips. There is no reason for her to not know, A, the style, and B, the fact that style of architecture was found on plantations. It wasn't a plantation style.
Yeah, it's antebellum. It's antebellum architecture during the antebellum period. Oh my. Anyway, any hoozles.
That was all.
Yeah, during the antebellum period in the antebellum South, in an antebellum house. Okay. But anyway, that's the least offensive thing that happened. But at first, I was offended by. I was annoyed, not offended. I was annoyed. But
I need to start with one more thing. The only thing that would have made, I think probably the least offensive thing actually with this whole thing is the fact that she didn't mention the fields of cotton. because that would have made it worse.
That would have made it so much worse. So anyway, so what she does is she's zooming in on, so she's like, there's like an establishing shot, and then we zoom in on a window, and in the window, I see a beautiful girl with like dark brown skin, and that's like not a problem, except, and she's really pretty hair, except this is a slave in the antebellum South, and it's Ever.
Yes.
And it's like, girl, okay, like, and here's the thing, it gets worse. But even at that point, I'm like, girl, no. First, like, I'm like, this is the whitest human being I've ever seen described in fiction. This is, if Hitler could make a Barbie doll,
Oh my god,
it would be Everbloom.
Yeah, because Barbie at least has a tan, right? Ever has been described as like the palest of the pale.
She's blonde hair, blue eyes, and pale, yeah.
And so Hitler's Barbie doll is, see, dark humor anyway. So Hitler's Barbie doll is now a slave in the South in a past life, and
she gets a whipping for daydreaming.
Yep.
Because I guess she wasn't scrubbing the floors quick enough.
So she's beaten, and then Damon swoops in to save her.
To buy her.
So
By
he's,
buying
so I was
her.
getting there to save her by purchasing her, and I get that, like,
taking her,
and
yeah.
like, is it inaccurate that he would have purchased a slave? No, but the way it was,
Is accurate that he would just purchase her and be like, "Okay, you're free." That's not how that worked.
We're gonna
But
run
then-
away and be married. How are you gonna run away and be married
yeah, no, not at that point
with your
in
property?
Yeah, there's literally no way.
Did Canada let them marry at that point?
time. No, I don't think. I actually don't know.
Was there anywhere?
I'm not sure. Honestly, that's not my. So yeah, I know I'm like a history major, but that's just not my period.
I
So I
mean-
actually don't know when the marriage laws like changed or whatever.
I mean, I guess the upside is like,
I think in the
In
US
that
it wasn't until
period-
like the 1900s.
Yeah, I think so too.
in that period, I guess they could have just gone to like a cabin in the woods and just lived in quote unquote.
Well, yeah,
sin.
obviously, but that's not what he says.
No, he's
I
a
know.
huge plantation.
I mean, this is the guy who in this book went, my friend Galileo was persecuted, and I wanted to die. But anyway, but this was so bad. Like, so he buys Ever and takes her away from her family,
And she's sobbing the
Jude-
whole time.
Yeah,
She's like,
she's
I
very
want my
And-
family.
and she's sobbing the whole time. She wants her family, and
Yes,
Jude.
And can I just there's an issue that I have, right? Because like he was hiding that life from her because he hadn't edited it yet, right?
Yes.
Um,
Really does make you wonder what else he edits.
but two, then
Mm.
she gets all upset, right? That he let her whole family, because spoiler alert, her whole family in that life burned to death in a
Literally,
fire.
I think like the day or two after
Yes, and Jude. And she's mad at him, and rightfully so. She's like, I would be mad too.
That's a very selfish decision from Damon.
Yes, but instead of just telling her the truth, he just let her be mad at him until she finds out the truth later, where he actually goes back to try and buy them all,
Yeah.
and they'll all just like go and live in a mountain hut together or something. I don't know what the plan was.
I don't know.
It doesn't matter because Ever ended up carking it a few days later anyway. But like, instead of just saying I tried and Roman killed them before I could get to them. Oh well, I think he went and tried. He couldn't buy them. He came back and he was planning on going back and kidnapping them in the middle of the night or something. But Roman killed them. I think that's what ended up happening. But why not just tell her from the get-go instead of letting her think your love for me is that selfish that you let my whole family die?
Right?
Okay, but on top of that, why did she need to be a slave to tell that particular narrative? Because she could definitely have been like any other set of circumstances, and he could have the exact same story.
Where he steals.
Well, she was a servant.
Yeah, like,
She was
yeah.
a servant. I wasn't offended with how the servant thing was approached. That was fine.
Well, I think one of those things is like if you're a medieval servant is so far removed from our everyday lives that like, you know what I mean, that it's not that there's not really a ton of room for it to be
Offense.
handled wrong.
Yeah.
I guess like you can kind of do anything. It sounds terrible. You can kind of do anything you want to a servant because like we don't have them like that anymore. But
It could have been
slavery
the
is
sort
still
of like a poor Thatcher man or something.
yeah, but
and-
slavery for the U.S. is still kind of a big deal.
That's just
And so this was a huge yikes. I'm curious actually.
Yeah, and like I mean, I will. There is a slight bit of credit that I will give, just a slight. Okay, I'm not at all defending, but during the period that this book was written, let's be honest, race relations were better then than they are now. They have gotten significantly worse.
Still though.
But that was all.
Yeah.
That was all I was saying. They were better than what they are now, but I still feel like chucking in slavery.
It's just not tasteful, man.
And again, it wasn't dealt with appropriately. Like they didn't. I don't know. Like I mean, I feel like the movie The Patriot, right, does get cop some criticism for the fact that like Mel Gibson just happens to be like the only like plantation owner where all of his black peeps, for want of a better term, they're all freed. None of them are slaves. They're all employees. And they're like, there's no way that they found the one guy that's ready to take down the British freaking empire that just happens to not own a single slave. That gets criticism. But I still feel like they handled the iffy, like Patriot probably handled the iffy racial circumstances of the era probably as best as could be hoped for.
Well, like, so in more modern stuff, like in Outlander, there's a section where it's 1770s, so early 1770s, and they go to Jamie's aunt's plantation in North Carolina, and it is one of the most hated episodes of the series because she has slaves and they are depicted historically accurately.
Yeah.
And, you know, Claire's from the 1900s, so she has feelings about this. And people hate the episode because of that. And it's like, it's a subject that, of course, needs, it's attention, of course.
Yeah,
not in this way.
Yeah, I feel like it, like, I don't feel like media should shy away from the fact that it is a thing that existed, but it needs to be dealt with correctly.
Yes.
And having her just being like, oh, I wish someone would come and take me away. Now that's a whipping, and now you get dragged away by some random guy who just bought you, crying for your family, and then everyone dies. Is not the way to go about this.
No.
Yeah. It was a lot. Like,
and again, this is why I would, if I would never touch.
I would never touch
that time period with a 10-foot pole.
That time period is not for me. I'm not. You know what? I'm very glad that there are writers. I'm very glad that there are writers out there who are creative enough to deal with that in a way that makes sense. I'm a lazy
Alison
hoe.
Noel did not do it right though. Alison Noel did not deal with it in a way that makes sense though.
I'm a lazy whore. So
she did not do it right at all.
No, it was bad.
And again,
otherwise, Ever was more tolerable, in my opinion. She didn't, try to murder anyone within the first 3 chapters,
except for a conjured being, but that's fine. It's just a conjuring.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's Haven. Fuck Haven. You know what I mean?
So
do you fully appreciate what I mean now? When I'm just like, whatever you think about Haven in book 1, just you freaking wait.
She's so annoying. I'm so happy.
And she,
so happy.
I missed it until there was a reference to it. Like she literally like embedded, was it a ruby or a sapphire into her forehead?
I missed that completely.
I
I'll
love your notes. 41. Fucking stupid.
I'll see if I can find the actual thing about.
All
I
right.
was so done by the end of the book. Man.
Let's just go through this real quick. Okay, so yeah, so we're sparring with Fake Haven,
Yeah.
and then we go back. So we're going back to school tomorrow. It's like senior year. We're
Wow.
seniors, yay! And honestly, and Damon's like, "Can't we just run away?" And I'm like, "Yeah, can't you could just literally leave." Like, here's the thing. Here's what I have absolutely no sympathy for, and I think this happened in the Soul Screamer series too, where every bit of issue that happened in the Soul Screamer series was tied to some gunky shit down under in the hell dimension underneath the school, right? And so I was like, great, move to Montana. Like, and that is also how I feel here too. I'm like, literally leave.
Like, why be
I have absolutely no sympathy for characters who, like, yeah, they're after you, but like, she's still just going to high school and you are putting yourself in that situation and you don't have to be. And I don't feel bad for you. And this is super low stakes for me now because you're like, you could fucking leave. Just leave.
Yep. I will say though, I think, and one, how else can they deal with the Haven shit if they just fucking leave? But two, and again, this is the ends justifying the means, not the means justifying the ends. Okay. But with how the series ends, from my recollection, she needed to stay in high school. But she didn't know that at the time. So it's your point is correct still. But okay, with the sapphire in her head, the first mention of it is brows merging together as a sapphire that marks her forehead amidst a dark, eerie glow. Now, I missed it in that, right? I missed that mention of it. What mention I didn't miss was, where is it? And then she looked at me. That blue sapphire she somehow embedded into her forehead, practically blinding me. She embedded a freaking jewel into her forehead.
I hate her. I'm so happy she's dead. Spoiler, she's dead. And I'm so happy.
How? How do you?
It would be so painful. I'm just so happy that she's dead.
I feel like, you know how there's a lot of things, right, that work in books that would not translate well to like TV or just reality in general. I feel like digging a sapphire into your forehead.
Ow. There's like bone right there.
It barely works on page. How the frick? Like
none of this is that deep. It's all.
No, it's.
Is it a flat one?
A layer or something?
Is it like? See this? Is it like that? And she's just like embedded it right there.
I don't know. All right, let's talk about what the fuck happened in this book.
Yeah. Sorry.
So we're going back to school, and then we find out that she was once a slave.
Haven's fucking popular. All right, here's what's going on. Haven's popular. She's being a whore. What's her nuts is mad at Damon for hiding things again. Okay, just baseline. Ever and Damon are always mad at each other, and
no, she's always mad at him.
Okay,
yeah, she's always mad at him, and he's always like, "You do what you want, baby. I'll be here."
And it doesn't make any fucking sense because all they would have to do is speak, but they should not be together. And I cannot even with people.
Again, and this is what I was saying before. All he had to say was like, "I fucking tried. I tried. And then I tried some more." But he didn't. He's just like, okay, be mad. I understand.
And then there's also, so like, as she's already mad at him, Haven's like, ooh, your boyfriend's got a dark secret. And I'm like, ooh, what else is new? And then she's like, Roman was amazing and Damon was terrible.
Haven has one good point, and she's like, he's lived 600 years. He can't tell you every single thing he's ever done. And I do agree with that point.
I couldn't tell 60 everything I've ever done.
Yeah, right?
And I've lived a fraction of that. And I've known him the 10 of those years. I
Well,
haven't told
like
him
here's the
everything
thing.
that I've done in the 10 years that I've known him.
Noah and I have known each other for it'll be 4 years in August. It'll be it's 3.5 years now. I don't think he knows about the cheddar incident. You remember from photography in 8th grade? I don't think I've told him about that.
Well, now you have to, because otherwise now you have a dark secret. And you can't be trusted.
I know.
Okay?
Yeah, so the cheddar incident, by the way, is
I'll text Christian right now.
the cheddar incident is it's one day.
It's called the cheddar incident.
The cheddar incident is this one day. You, me, and another friend, we were out, and we're friends with her.
Yeah.
We were out doing photography because we were in photography class. So we're taking pictures out in nature, and so we find this mouse. And this mouse is like barely moving, and we're like, wow, we should save this mouse. So we put it. What did we put it in? Like, kind of like a box or some shit.
Our camera was a box. Remember? It was
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it was one of those pinhole cameras. So we take the pinhole camera apart. We put the mouse in the camera box. And we take it inside because one of us were like, we have to hide the mouse and we have to take it home. And so that we can save it, we've decided.
And that was like our second period class.
Yeah, it was.
We had 4 more periods, break and lunch to go through. So we had the entire day.
But we had decided we were saving this mouse. And then I forget how our teacher found out.
Maybe because you took apart the camera.
Well, I think she told him. I think that's what ended up happening.
Oh, she snitched on
I
us?
think so.
Okay, because I didn't say shit. Because we were taking that mouse home. But anyway, so then he like comes up to us and he's like, guys, you cannot just bring mice inside the school. That's not okay. And we were like, but it's a hurt mouse. And he's like, that you cannot bring him in school. We're like, well, we named him Cheddar. And he was like, that doesn't change anything. So he made us put the half-dead mouse back outside. And he probably died. Like, it was sad.
Mean. I remember
it was mean.
This is reminding. I think I was probably about 10 at the time. It was Christmas Eve, and I found, like my parents knew, but I think it had eaten some mouse poison, like some rat sack or something that was killing it, because it was just like this. It was barely moving. It was under where our TV was, because also like the kind of house we used to have, it was like it had a raised foundation and stuff, and some of the skirting boards were missing. It was very easy for mice to get inside. And I'm like, I want it. And my parents will look at this mouse and they're like, it's going to be dead. It's going to be dead by night's end anyway. So they let me rescue it and put it in like those containers that can work as like a goldfish tank or a mouse cage. Yes. Yeah. So we put it in there. And it was Christmas Eve, so we went to my Auntie Deb's house and took the mouse with me and everything. It was dead by the end of the night. But, they just humored me. And, like they did warn me. Like, they weren't just like, yeah, it's going to be fine. They were like, look, it's probably going to die. But if it survives, sure, I guess you can keep it, but it's going to die.
That's what
and
happened.
It died.
We had a bird, a baby bird, and a bat like that. Yes, and his name was Bruce. It was fine. Okay, so Christian just that was his response. That's it.
Look, the cheddar incident was a very fun day. I'm not gonna lie, because it was really fun, and it was just one of those things. Like, we were just so determined to save this mouse, and we knew it was gonna die, like, because we were old enough to know.
But you wanted to give it love before it died, right?
What?
You wanted it to feel loved before it died.
Exactly. But yeah, we weren't allowed to keep him till he died. So R.I.P. Cheddar. Press F to pay respects to Cheddar.
But anyways, we are also mad at Sabine right now because Sabine doesn't believe us that we're psychic, and so of course we hate her now. But
Yeah,
Sabine
and-
is just doing her best.
And honestly, I feel like if ever really wanted Sabine to understand her, it would be very quite simple. She would be like,
Oh, manifest
hey,
another
Sabine,
DM.
yes, manifest something. Well, ease her into it first, right? Before you start like manifesting like cars and shit. Just be like, you know what, Sabine? You've read a lot of books. You're a lawyer. You know case law. You know literally all the writing. Just start randomly thinking of something. And I will tell you word for word what you're thinking.
She tried that, and Sabine was just like,
I missed that then.
I would summon
Manifest a
Julep.
fucking tulip, okay? You and Damon are so down for the
manifest
tulips.
something.
Speaking of tulips, I can't wait to plant my bulbs. I've got like 6 months before I can plant them, but I don't care. They're in the fridge right now.
So then, first day of school, Haven's popular. Oh yes, that's right. She's wearing a gown to school as well as the silver encrusted into her forehead. Now she's wearing like whole ass ball gowns to school.
And no one's like,
that
this
was
is fucking
and
weird.
she was like, and she could pull it off, and now she's popular because of that. And I was like, what the are you talking
If
about?
someone wore a ball gown to school, they would get so ridiculed.
I think
Can you imagine?
I mean, they did manage to work in though that like she was actually like maybe not outright mind control, but like subtle mind control.
She was doing the Roman juju.
Yeah, she was sending out the vibes. And it was like Rise of the Nerds or something because all the formerly popular kids were now like no one liked them.
Gets dethroned, and then Damon, after she finds out about the slavery editing thing, where she already edits the memories, he starts hanging out with Stacia again, which we all know is just Ever's least favorite thing on the planet.
And honestly, like, here's the thing: if every time you have a disagreement with your boyfriend, he like basically tries to make you feel like he's cheating on you.
Right.
Dump his ass.
I mean,
right.
I will say though, in Damon's defense, just on this one, Ever skipped school for the rest of the week, and she skipped school for the rest of the week.
Oh yeah.
And he's still going, and no one's talking to Stacia. And Damon is actually, he's like, look, my karma has been really bad over the last, half a millennium. And this girl, while she hasn't been nice, now she's being treated horribly, and I don't really like that. So I can at least understand why he's doing the Stacia route in this book. He's trying to be kind.
Make Ever pissy or jealous, which at least is nice.
I will say though, at this point, I'm like, Ever and Jude should shack up. If only Ever wasn't a piece of shit. But
Jude, I know.
Oh, Jude deserves better. Jude deserves. So much
yeah, that's what I said. I said that.
Yeah, but she does make out. Soon.
Yeah, and the honor thing in this book, like she's like, oh well, I guess Stacia's just dethroned, but I guess I'll be number 2 to Haven now because at least she's not Stacia. And Ever's like, but that's rude. And she's like, well, Stacia tried to hook up with my boyfriend, which rude. And she's like, oh, is that why you two broke up? And I will give honor this. She's like, no, we broke up because Craig's gay. He's a good guy. Leave him alone. And don't tell anyone that he's gay because he's not ready to be out yet. And I'm like, you know what? Like, at least Honor has potential. That's all I'll say.
Also, I will say though that conversation was really flippant, that was actually handled better than a lot of the other stuff.
Yeah,
like,
because we haven't even talked about the Haven interactions yet, where Haven corners her in a bathroom and is like, Damon's gonna fuck someone else because he can't touch you, me. And Ever's like, Roman never loved you. He straight up told me and you that not you this, but like he
was going back to England.
Leave. Yeah, he was like, this place is boring. I'm not gonna miss a fucking thing here. And Haven's like, well, I loved him, and fucking Ever's like, you told me straight up you knew he didn't love you. Why are you doing this? And I'm like,
he only ever loved Trina. That's all he ever loved, Trina. And I don't know if he actually even loved Trina. I don't even actually. His feelings towards Trina are weird, right? Because like it's like he never had a mother figure, and then she became that. And it's kind of like
Sorry.
that's okay. It's kind of like some weird like Oedipus complex love,
Yeah, it's
for
weird.
want of a better term. But I feel like though before Roman died, I feel like he might have been able to reach the point where he could, even though Dreena's dead at that point, I feel like he could have reached, he was on the path to being able to reach the point of actually just being in love with Dreena because he was in love with Dreena instead of her, because she was his mother, for want of a better term.
It's weird. But then
I don't.
Actually skipping school, Miles shows up at the psychic shop thing and is like, so Damon told me like literally fucking everything. After Haven tried to turn me into one of you guys, and fuck that noise, I don't want it. And now I like Miles. I will say I do like Miles.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and you know what? I do also like Miles's reasoning for not wanting to
I
be
actually
a
agree
What?
too.
Because it's not like, for example, because we brought this up when talking about Vampire Diaries. Like, it's just like, why wouldn't you want to be a vampire?
Yeah.
Well, Miles has a reason why he doesn't want to be a vampire, even though they're not vampires. But it's the analogy still stands. He's like, all I want to do is act. He's like, and the only way I can fully hone my craft is by experiencing life, and part of that is aging. Damn it.
Yeah. So.
And struggling.
Well, yeah, he actually has a real reason, I feel like, whereas a lot of the reasons we're given in so much media is just like, oh,
but
and, like, that's
then
it.
You're not human.
And I'm like, who cares? Who gives a shit?
So then, after her and Damon are basically broken up for the 17th time, but the first time this book, she's training Jude to kill Haven in case Haven comes after him, because it seems like she's going to.
Oh, and Haven's not wearing her amulet anymore.
Yeah, she's not wearing her amulet anymore, which means she can be shot or killed.
Right, because remember, we just
love tap.
We just poke people.
You boop someone.
You boop somebody and they die.
And again, this is like, honestly, like, I mean, there are so many questions for so many authors, right, that we have that I don't think we could ever actually ask them because we've insulted them so much. But I would love to ask Alison Noel. I'm like, does there have to be like intent to cause harm? Because I feel like there would have to be, because I'm sure, again, because
it can't just be that you go like accidentally, or like you just
like
accidentally bump into them, or like what if you accidentally bump into them, like, you know, you're like, okay, no, we'll take the school, like you're just like, you just turn the corner too fast, and you like,
or the groin chakra. Like, just one good thrust and poof.
Yeah,
I still want to know about the sex.
But it's fine, whatever. So, but
I mean,
everyone was kissing Jude, and then they talk, and he's like, listen, I'm not gonna kiss you.
Louder.
I'm not gonna kiss you unless you're all in, is what Jude says to Ever, because they almost kissed. And then, let's see, we spy on Haven. We could finally go back to school, and this is when Damien's all up on Stacia's snatch. Still with the threats from Haven. Then her and Miles break into Haven's place, and they see one of Haven's friends breaking in to steal her elixir.
Yeah, one of Roman's immortal peeps. Oh, and now Haven has a Haven's also got a Ouroboros somewhere.
Yes. So then it's like 4 weeks later, and we make out with Jude, and then Haven comes in and is like, well. She rips the amulet off of Ever's neck and then kills Ever.
Except, yeah. So one thing we do learn in this book is, because, you know, when you get, you know, your whole life flashes before your eyes, and then you go to Shadowland, unless you're like, yes, karma, I accept my karma. And then karma's like, okay, I guess you don't die now. And then you don't die.
Yeah, and so she sees her whole life, all of her life. Like, Damon's always been the one for me. How could I never see it? So then she realizes he's the one. And
that's where she gets, like, sees all the stuff about him trying to do this stuff. And
him actually trying to save her family, yeah. And then we thought she killed Jude. She didn't kill Jude. And So now she can't be chakra dead. She has no weak chakra. Bitch is immortal for real now. Then we have a come to Jesus meeting with Stacia. Damon wants to talk to Jude, and now they're bros. It's very weird. And they're still, all the while, this entire book, they're trying to find the shirt that Roman died in because it has the elixir, like a stain of the elixir to make it so they can finally boink in the shirt.
Yes.
So.
Oh, okay. Also, though, so he's supposed to die, like if they go near each other or whatever. Still, but they make out.
No, they've got that energy shield. They've got an energy shield covering their
cares?
bodies.
Why are we
Because
here?
because instead of like doing this right, in reality they're like that.
Yeah.
So it's like holding hands with a glove. Like if you're wearing latex gloves and Noah's wearing latex gloves and you're holding hands, it's like, yeah, we're holding hands, but I don't get to feel his skin. And I guess that's what it is. Like imagine kissing someone with a latex glove covering every part of your mouth.
But it's not super clear. Like,
yeah.
Also, though, it really defeats the purpose of this whole thing because we're supposed to care, but you know, every time they see each other, they're like,
he's got an energy barrier condom. They could still boink.
I know.
Well, he's like, I would get too distracted.
Oh yeah.
That's right.
Also, she here because
also
she and I are in the same room.
Sorry.
So
also,
she and I keep looking at each other to speak.
I apologize.
Yeah. I will say though, again, every issue that we have, like for example, them not moving, them not using their energy barrier to boink and everything, it's again, this is the author creating issues to serve the end purpose of the book, not the end purpose of the book resulting from the issues that occur, if that makes sense. You'll understand next book.
We finally have our big showdown with Haven. She has the shirt in her hand, and Jude shows up again.
Oh, yeah. And so twice now, because it looks like Evan might be just about to get through to Haven to give over the shirt or something, and then Jude comes in and ruins it all again. Honestly, I feel like I don't... Like, and Eva even has the thought, she's like, I swear it has to be intentional, but I don't think it's intentional, but no one can just be this fucking cock-blocky on purpose.
I know. And
or by accident.
She doesn't get the shirt. But Haven does come over to her house and is like, where's my elixir? I know you took it. And Ever's like, I didn't take it, dude. These are the people that took it. I didn't take it. And she's like, well, man. She's like, well, I'll give you elixir if you give me this one thing. So they go over, and now it's the big showdown.
And then Damon comes running in at some point.
Damon comes running in after Haven has Jude like a knife or something to his neck, and the shirt with like a flame nearby in the other hand is like, choose Ever. And Ever's like, I'm not playing your stupid fucking game. This is stupid. You're stupid. Just stop. And then she's like, okay, well, Damon can choose. And Damon's like, I'm not fucking playing your stupid game.
And then Miles comes in.
And then Miles comes in, and he's like, I'm not playing your stupid game. There's a trend here. And Jude is like, just let me die. I've screwed everything up for you. Have sex, Ever. Come on. And then the shirt gets burned, and Ever
and then
throw punches.
Well, and then then Haven takes Miles hostage and is going to kill him.
Yeah.
And he's like, but you're my best friend, you fucking weirdo. And she's like, I'm evil now. Ha ha ha. And then Ever's just like, well.
Yeah, so then Ever kills her. Miles immediately forgives her. And then my notes for the last 3 chapters are nothing happens, and fucking stupid.
Yeah. So what? And that's the book. So Haven's gone now. So there's only one challenge left. And what's that challenge, guys? What's the challenge?
Boinking. We got
quest to boink. So what do you think the next book is? The Quest to Boink. That's literally next book. The Quest to Boink. There's no more antagonists except the inability to boink.
Well, I guess Jude still exists, but
he's an accidental, like,
Well, I mean, he exists as maybe a barrier, but like again, she added a second love interest and then did not commit.
No, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Here's the thing, if you're gonna give me a
love
love
for
triangle, I demand it be spicy.
Yeah, give me the spice.
I demand a spicy love triangle, okay? Because rarely in fiction, when you have a love triangle, am I ever like, oh, I have no idea which way this is gonna go?
Yeah, right.
And like rarely, and like the only time this ever happened was I think it was the Jenny series where she just didn't know who the main character was gonna end up with.
Which one?
yeah, she let the audience pick, and they
She let
picked
the audience
wrong.
pick.
Which one is that? Are we
The gargoyle
We
one.
can read that one if you want. It's only 3 books.
I don't know.
Is it 3?
We can do that one. Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Yeah.
Either Agape or Kitten though. I need to read Agape or Kitten.
I think we're
But
going
we
to
can read. Yeah,
But
we can read
that one.
Let me see how many books that is. I swear to God, it's only 3 though. But we should do it again just because we just don't have that. Yeah, we don't have it anymore. Yeah, it's only 3, I think. Yeah. It's just 3 books.
Yeah, and this isn't going to be a spoiler. Like, I think they've been building it up for a few books. Jude's going to get a happy ending.
Good.
He's going to get a happy ending. It's fine.
With honor?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I don't feel like that was a spoiler. Like, that's been building since,
I
like...
figured it was going to be them too. Like, good for them.
Like, they've been redeeming honor too much, you know, and having them have a thing.
Honor has too much honor now, and so, yeah.
Yeah, it's... I'm just trying to see if I can find... Oh, you know what? No. I'm not even going to tell you what chapter is the worst, the cringiest scene in the history of cringy scenes is going to occur next book.
I would love to just find it.
And I swear, it could also just be like, because it's been so long, maybe I just thought, well, this is kind of cringy, and just as time's gone by, like I've built it up to be extra cringy. But I swear it is though. Oh, it's.
I don't know. On a scale of cringe to love, always love. The end for now.
Give me a.
I'll tell you what's cringe.
Good show, yeah.
Show. We started watching True Blood.
Oh my God.
And I have a request. One day on book club, I want to do the True Blood books.
If they're bad, I would definitely like this.
Okay, so it's not a full scene. I just found it. It's not a full scene. It's a paragraph.
Okay, well, that's the. Oh,
It's a paragraph.
Mysteries, what they're called. Okay. It's the Sookie Stackhouse series. It is 13 books.
That's a lot of books.
We've done more before.
I know, but these books are longer than like a 7-hour audiobook long.
Are they?
I've seen the novels. The novels look pretty big. Give me a second.
I recall the novels not being that long.
I'm going to their Goodreads page again.
From my...
Going to Audible.
Yeah.
Sookie Stackhouse. Oh, no, they're like 8 hours and 22 minutes, 9 hours, 28 minutes, 9 hours, 9.5.
Yeah, I remember them not being that long.
10 hours.
I read them when I was like 12.
Oh, the first one is mass market paperback, 292 pages.
Okay, yeah, no, they're shorter than I thought.
It says that the books are better than the show, so
The show, the first episode was a mess. What the heck?
walks in like during a sex scene, and she and I were just like,
We were just like, hello.
please.
And he was like, I can't leave, I'm feeding myself. And we
he
were
was
like,
now this is
Yeah.
one.
One thing one thing that bothered me with the show, I think I only watched like 1 or 2 episodes, and a big part of why was because reading it could it be because I watched Gilmore Girls, but the spelling of her name, to me, it's always Suki, but in the show she's Sookie.
It's Snooki to me because she's really Snooki without the end. Not
Like,
but.
And I'm like, but like, I don't know about there, but he's like, Sookie means whiny and whingy.
Well,
yeah, no, yeah,
So
I know.
every single time they're like, hey,
Yeah,
Sookie, I'm like, hey, you little bitch. Like, effectively, you know?
Every time you say, like, you'll say something like, your kids are having a sook or something like that. Yeah, or they're being sooky. Like,
oh my gosh. If we had a clips channel, that would be the first upload we did. It's like, hey, Snooki, hey, you little bitch.
And the second clip would be, no one cares about your dead baby, Sam.
it was when we were doing Bloodbound. From it was the Second Book of the Mercy series, and Sam's having an emotional breakdown because he has a bunch of dead babies. But like, honestly, here's the thing. Okay, after 30 dead babies, one dead baby is one thing. 30 is like too many for me to care about. You can only ask me to care about one dead baby.
And then his girlfriend
no one cares about your dead baby, Sam.
We spent like a chapter with Sam crying over his ex-girlfriend having an abortion because, she was like first year med school. And and she just went on a rant about no one caring about Sam's dead baby.
And it's not even because the situation wasn't sad, it was. It's just because I did not care about Sam.
Well, also like because Sam had the previous 2-3 books, like Sam's just being like, oh, woe is me. I shall never be a father. And it got a bit old by that point.
Well, not only that, but like previous to this, you learn that Sam has tried to manipulate a child, Mercy, who is our main character, into being his broodmare. And so you're kind of like, I don't care about your dead baby anymore. Like, tell me about your dead baby before you tell me about trying to manipulate a child into being an incubator, okay?
Because she rocks up, because she's a coyote shapeshifter, and the issue is, right, werewolf women cannot carry babies because they have to shift every full moon, and the shift kills the baby. Human.
I don't know.
No, Haley. Is that her name? Haley?
Mm-hmm.
She gets pregnant. That's right. She gets pregnant with fucking Klaus. Oh, that's right.
Yeah. And then friggin' human women cannot carry a werewolf baby, and it seems like when werewolf bangs human woman, I think it's like a 60 to 70% chance of it being like a werewolf fetus.
We don't know.
We don't know exactly, but based on the typical ratio of miscarriage to viable pregnancies, it seems to be like a 70% chance of the baby being a werewolf. Human women can't carry it, so they miscarry. Mercy is neither human nor werewolf. She's a coyote shapeshifter. Her shifts are not violent. She doesn't even have to shift. She can go 3 years without shifting. She'd be fine. And he's like, excellent. Well, she rocks up there in the pack at about, a few months old?
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like from the get-go, Sam's just like, oh, this could work.
He's like, I'll have that for breakfast. And it's like, Sam. Yeah.
So by the time she's 16, she's in love with him, and they're going to run away together until his dad is like, this is kind of fucked up. And
at least 1,000.
Oh, still it's weird.
It's very weird. And also though, here's the one history mistake Patty makes. Patty is like, well, 16 used to be a normal age for marriage. That's not really true, by the way, in case you're wondering. A normal age for marriage is about what you'd expect. Actually, it's not what you'd expect, because you'd expect it to be like 12. But you have to keep in mind, the age at which girls have their first menstrual cycle is lowering, not getting older. So there's that. And so the average age of marriage and like first conception was somewhere around 18 plus. And so that, well, I'm going to get to that.
I will say, I was going to say,
so that's like so that was like pretty typical. And then any like child marriages amongst royalty were typically in name only until.
I was going to say, young betrothals and whatnot typically occurred among royalty aristocratic societies, and and usually purely for political purposes,
and typically nothing marriage-esque happened. Marital duties did not happen when the people were 13. That's just not how it worked. Because also, like, these were people who had very, like, you imagine, like, childbirth is risky. So what you don't do is put the person who's going to give you heirs to the throne at risk of dying because they're pregnant at 14, which they knew was incredibly dangerous. So,
and a lot
if
of
it was at all even possible, you know.
And then there's one other factor as well. It was very, very rare. I'm not going to say it never happened, but it was incredibly rare that they would betroth like a 12-year-old girl to a 30-year-old man. They would betroth a 12-year-old girl to a boy anywhere between the ages of, say, 10 and 16.
Yeah.
They were usually around the same age, give or take a few years. Usually it was like, hey, I have a 6-year-old son, you've got a 4-year-old girl. When they come of age, they shall marry.
Yeah. And so when Patty says like, oh, Sam's from around the time when 16 was, and it's like, not really, because 16 is actually still, so 18 and onward is
and
when
he was a peasant.
Is when the risk of pregnancy actually is lowest. 16 to like 30 is when you're in the green space. 18 to 30 is the green space. Yeah, and for getting pregnant. 16 is still actually a bit young, believe it or not, because you haven't gone through like that second stage of puberty yet. So I'm sorry, this is anatomy lesson. So women go through a second, actually men and women both do this. We go through a second stage of puberty, from like 18 to 20 something, where your hips get wider.
That's why, for example, with men, like, you graduate high school and they're all still beanpoles, and then you see them when you're 23 and they like, their neck merges with their head, and it's like their head just connects to their shoulders, and they're like 10 times broader, and you're like, what the fuck happened to you in the last 5 years?
And that's like the second puberty thing. And then for women, your hips get wider. Like you get into like birthing. Yeah, you get into birthing position. And when literally getting pregnant could kill you, they know this. They're aware of these factors.
Like, and I'm just going to do a PSA out there for anyone who cares to be breeding a dog at any point. There is also a reason why you never let a bitch get impregnated on her first cycle, because it is the equivalent of letting a 12-year-old get knocked up. Yes, they technically can get knocked up. Yes, they technically can carry a baby. Is it healthy for them? Hells no. Hells no. And same with the 6-month-old. Same with the 6-month-old bitch. Yes, can she get pregnant? Yes. Should she get pregnant? No.
So that myth bothers me. It's just one of those things where everybody's convinced that 13-year-olds are all having kids. I'm like, 13-year-olds weren't even having periods. And like, not only that, when you have to be hyper aware of the fact that that you could die having a baby,
Yeah, and
anyway,
and again, the peasant classes did not get married. Like the upper classes got married younger than the peasant classes did.
But even when the upper classes were getting married younger,
and Sam was a peasant.
They weren't coitusing.
Yeah,
super early. Like it just because that carried with it a risk of pregnancy, and you don't want a
A
child
12-year-old giving
or
birth.
you don't even
It's
want
very
14
dangerous.
or you don't even want a 14 or 16-year-old pregnant because that's dangerous. So there's
It's
that.
dangerous for her. It's dangerous for the baby. Like, because again, your hips aren't fully developed yet. Just because you have your period does not mean your hips are fully developed. And guess what? If your hips are not, like, even when you do have fully developed hips, babies can still get stuck.
Yep.
Like, thank Christ for C-sections now. Because that
Yeah.
eliminates that. The invention of a safe C-section has saved so many freaking lives, I swear.
Well, I mean, I was breech, so like I was footling breech.
Well, my daughter would have died if not for C-section because she just couldn't get out. Purely because she had a freaking weird skull. She had a weird skull. You know how like babies are born like with a giant soft spot here and a giant soft spot here? She didn't have giant soft spots. Her top soft spot was smaller than my thumbnail. It was like half the size of my thumbnail. Her skull was almost fully
Your
formed.
skull fused early? Oh, goodness.
Yeah, and so like, babe, you've met me. I got hips. I have hips. I've got them. They're big. I was like, yeah, my babies are just gonna walk out, you know. Yeah, unless they've got a weird freaking early fused skull, and then they get stuck.
Yeah. It can happen to anybody. Anyway, so that's this book.
And a nice little
and an anatomy lesson. And a history lesson.
Yes.
So
Yes, don't breed young. Don't breed your pets young. Okay. You want the equivalent of an 18-year-old plus.
wait till you get hips. Like anyway. So we're gonna finish this up because I think
I'm
we're
ready.
I think we're all done.
I'm ready to be done.
And we're ready to be done and move on to Agape Moo.
Yeah. So when are we going to do the last bookie book?
I cannot do next Friday.
What the hell?
I'm gonna be in Florida.
Oh yeah, that's right. Well, I'm pretty much good whenever. Is there another day you're good? Like
we'll talk. We'll chat.
Okay.
We'll chat
Anyway.
after.
All right, so that's that, and
TBD.
we'll hope TBD hopefully next week. But yeah, with that we will see you guys next time. Okay.